What do you do when a brand new speedrunner comes from out of nowhere and takes multiple world records overnight? This is the story of the Mario Kart DS racing scene and the very sudden appearance of an 11-year-old boy who, within 1 year, is on track to become the best player the community has ever seen. I have spoken with 5 players in the MKDS racing scene to talk about this major event which took place in late 2020 and all through 2021. This is the story of the enigmatic Taiga. In the world of speedrunning, racing games are kind of unique because, getting from start to finish as fast as possible, that's literally the point of the game, so it isn't so much speedrunning as it is just playing. But nonetheless, very strong communities will form out of these games where everybody knows each other and they're all chasing after the same goal, right? The ups and downs of an individual player are going to be very well documented as they post their PBs on the leaderboards, hoping to become the best in either their individual country or in the entire world. But in late 2020, this entire concept was shaken up by the introduction of Taiga. On September 20th, 2020, MKDS racer Makiri posted this on Discord. It's a video of Taiga getting a 156 on Waluigi Pinball. It's a very impressive time on a highly technical track, and nobody had ever seen this person before. The only details that came with this video, the only identifier possible, was the description, which, when Google translated out of Japanese into English, says, "It is a record played by my son in 6th grade."
It was a Waluigi Pinball replay, which was something like 2nd or 3rd in the world at the time. And naturally, people were gobsmacked and started having doubts, because how can a random, possibly having no prior interaction with not even the Japanese community, be this high of a level?
What is this? This is insane. And the description, all it said was, "I'm in 6th grade." And we were like, what? What is going on here?
Okay, yeah, sure. But who is this guy? Is he real? We'll have to, investigate more.
Waluigi Pinball was just the beginning. Over the next couple of days, Taiga would upload very impressive times, including some world records, some number ones. He also uploaded what is now a famous video of him scrolling through every single time that he had in the game, which also had some world records in it that he just never posted on YouTube.
I don't know if you've seen the time scroll video. Yes, the infamous one.
Yeah.
That was the one that caught everybody's attention.
It's September 26th. He posts this video, and somebody does all the math. He would have been ranked 11th in the world at that time.
It had several world records in it, which was kind of a shock, especially because some of them were on like Figure 8 Circuit, the first track in the game. That's a track we generally think of as being like the top track in terms of just pure driving ability and stamina and PRB and real driving skill. And he had obliterated the world record there, which was entirely unexpected.
And we're like, oh my god, this guy just has so many good times, and he doesn't even post those. A, why hasn't he posted them? But B, everyone wanted to see the runs. We were, kind of itching to see it. We obviously want to see new world records.
Needless to say, this 6th grader was making some major claims that needed to be supported. Almost immediately, questions of his legitimacy as a racer were brought up, and there were plenty of debates about whether or not he should be accepted onto the leaderboards.
We all thought this is too bizarre to be real. For someone to reach this high of an understanding, this high of a level, in any speed game, 99% of the time, you will have to have some sort of contact or interaction, like I said before, with its community. There's a very mixed reaction, even from myself. Some people considered him to be cheating, understandably, somehow, whilst others believed him to be legit.
Back in the day, people weren't as connected as they are now, and someone could just be doing something on their own without anyone knowing about it and then pop up out of nowhere, oh, I have these really good times, and it wasn't so uncommon. But now that's just something that doesn't really happen anymore, so I think everyone's first instinct is that these times are fake. He tasked them, he cheated. There's no way out of nowhere he's just hitting, world records or top 5, top 10 times. There's got to be something up.
There is a little bit of speculation as to is this kid using some crazy advanced hack? Is he playing with speed mod or a kart mod that makes it faster? But we really didn't see much evidence of that. It was very hard to say that it wasn't legit.
After all of this speculation, Taiga would eventually provide what they call a hands video, a literal video where the camera is pointed at your hands while you play the game. This proved his skill, this showed how good he was at the game, and that he was probably capable of getting the world records that he claimed to have. However, another very interesting discovery came from these videos.
Really, the gold standard in legitimacy is the hands video from Mario Kart DS. And he posted 3 videos of him playing.
And that was when, you know, the situation took it had an even bigger twist. You know, we saw him play with the C-pad, you know, the analog stick on the 3DS. And that was like, we've never seen anything like that before.
He's using a 3DS circle pad, which, by the way, like the standard is the Nintendo DS, this thing right here. This is what everybody plays on. Most people. Like sometimes some people play on DS Lite, some people play on a DSi. Nobody plays on 3DS.
It's like someone playing Mario Kart 64 with like a fight stick or something. Like it just doesn't make sense. Like you think someone's good and then they have a live video and they're playing on a fight stick. Like you would just be so like lost and confused and surprised. That's how we all felt, I'm pretty sure. It still to this day feels like it doesn't make sense that works as well as it does.
In order to further cement Taiga's legitimacy in the rankings, members of the community would eventually reach out to Taiga's family and send him what they call an R4 cart. It's a flash cart that essentially makes it much, much easier to prove the times that you claim, as well as review the runs more consistently so that you can learn from them.
The moment, like the day he gets it, he posts 20 videos proving all of his times. At this point, we're just bowing down to him. He's just our new god. Who is this kid? Why is he real? Everybody's like, I hate that he's real. I hate that he's real.
It was official. Taiga was a legitimate racer, a 6th grader who was better than 99% of the people who've been playing Mario Kart DS for over a decade. Now, all of this happened in late 2020, and what happens in 2021 is nothing short of incredible, and I'm going to tell you about that, but before we do, I need to tell you about some of the major techniques and terminology that are involved with Mario Kart DS in order for you to understand some of the interviews that are about to come up. For the purposes of this video, there are 2 major techniques that a racer needs to master if they want to be competitive in MKDS. The first one is called snaking, otherwise referred to as mini turboing or MTs. This is the concept of constantly drifting back and forth across the entire course in order to take advantage of the speed boosts that it provides. The more mini turbos that you can hit, the faster you will go. The other technique is called PRB, or prolonged rocket boost. So you know how in the countdown of any Mario Kart game, if you hit the gas pedal at the right time, you get like a little speed boost at the beginning of the game? Well, in Mario Kart DS, if you do that correctly, and then you immediately follow it up with mini turbos, then you end up with what they call PRB. This is a top speed that allows you to go off-road without any slowdowns. It is something that is very hard to initiate, and it's even harder to maintain. The only other thing you need to know is how the leaderboards are set up. In MKDS, they have 32 different tracks, and each of those tracks has a separate world record, one for a single lap time and the other for a 3-lap time. Then there's also 2 different leaderboards, one that allows the use of PRB and then the other one which doesn't. It's a little more complicated than that, but for the purposes of this video, it's good enough. And for the most part with Taiga, we're going to be entirely focused on the PRB leaderboards. Now, I need to tell you about Taiga's 2021 in MKDS because as of this recording, he has picked up 30 world records, which means he has more PRB world records than anybody else. And not only that, but ever since September 2020, he has taken over 60 world records, which accounts for various back and forths on individual tracks. I can't emphasize this enough. This is insane. Achieving a single world record is something that hundreds of players dream of doing, and Taiga just picked them up like they were nothing. Now, there's one other player in particular who was affected by Taiga's rise in the charts, and his name is MK Dasher. MK Dasher is one of, if not the best player to ever compete in Mario Kart DS. He is the current and multi-time PRB champion, he is the former non-PRB champion, and he has sustained his role at the top of the charts for more than a decade. He is the Wayne Gretzky of this community, if I can use that analogy. And in fact, Abel, who I've talked to in the interviews, has made a 90-minute documentary about him and the community at large. It's very high quality, super informative. I encourage you to check it out. Link is in the description. But in September 2020, MK Dasher had 33 world records in MKDS, and as of this recording, he's down to 24. So he had about 9 world records taken away from him by Taiga. But certainly, he hasn't been going down without a fight. There's been a lot of back and forths over various world records. And this is something that MK Dasher has had to do before. He's had a lot of rivalries over the years with very high-performing players, people like TB1, otherwise known as Thomas Bolton, or another Japanese player, Rupa. So I asked him to compare his rivalries in the past to his current back and forth that he's having with Taiga.
Yeah, so I guess it's like completely different situations. For example, with TV1, I felt like when I battled the most with him back in 2010, I wasn't as good as him, but I just played way more than him, so I ended up getting more records than him. Then I had the same kind of battle with Rupa in 2017 when he started taking all my records, but then I came back and I was able to get these records back again. But then with Taiga the situation was different because the thing about Taiga was he was improving really quickly, getting world records really quickly. I remember back in May he posted 5 world records in one day. So it was the feeling like was getting on my level at some point, and in other tracks he was probably better than me already. And he also had more time to play than me. So when I was probably taking the time I could to beat one time that I think I can beat it, then he probably beat 4 of my time. So in the end it was really hard to battle with him, and right now I still have a lot of records that I still hold, but I don't know how it will look in the end of this year.
Clearly, Taiga is something special. He is achieving something extraordinary. And obviously, he has to be doing something a little differently in order to make this happen. So I asked players, what is it that Taiga does so well? What specific skills does he possess that allows him to reach the top of the charts seemingly so easily?
So at a top level, it's like a little bit hard because obviously they're all really good at the video game. But like I think what makes Taiga special is he's just so consistent. Because of him being sort of not active in any sort of chats or anything, it makes him like look like he's the most consistent player in the world because he only posts good times. So the only thing we see from him is good times. We don't see him messing up. We don't see the thousands of fails. So, but I do think that he is unrivaled consistent.
We don't know how much Taiga's playing, but clearly for him to get off good runs, sometimes get world records in a day or two, he has to be ultra consistent also, which is not something everyone has.
The older you get, the more proficient you become at the more technical tracks like Bowser's Castle, Peach Gardens. Taiga is very, very proficient not only at these, but also at the PRB tracks like Peach Circuit, Mario Circuit 1. He's very, very good at the tracks that require you to have fast MTs, know how to PRB effectively. It's something that you can see in the more younger players, and then once they get, because I used to be just like that. I was very, very PRB oriented, and now I can't play those tracks for shit. Taiga's the real deal. That's all I can say.
Now, listen, there is one final piece to this Taiga puzzle that I have not yet mentioned, and that is the fact that he is a very different kind of player in this community, in the fact that he's not really in the community at all. This isn't just a story of somebody doing very well very quickly. This is about somebody who lives in a cloud of mystery. Nobody knows who Taiga is, besides the fact that he's a child who plays on the circle pad.
Does he know that he's like making us lose our minds? I check in and I wake up in the morning because it's Japan time, so he'll like post it at night in Japan. I'll wake up the next morning and I wake up to Taiga setting like 2 world records, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? And everybody in Discord's losing their minds over it. Like, does this kid celebrate? Because like I know when I get like a crazy time I've been working for, I'm like running around the room. Like, does this kid get as excited as I do? We don't know anything.
Taiga is indeed very mysterious. Maybe he just doesn't give a shit and just sort of sets a new time, throws his DS on the couch, and just goes and does something else.
Something even more bizarre is that nobody is really quite sure how much Taiga actually cares about getting world records. There have been multiple instances where Taiga or his family have sent over his save files only for the community to discover that there were multiple record times that he just never uploaded to YouTube or talked about with anybody. It's clear that he's aware of the world records because he has had back and forths with players, but in other cases he just lets them sit there, waiting to be discovered.
And yeah, we have found hidden records, hidden world records, and probably times that are not world record but are really close. And some of them I have the world record, so I am kind of scared, but
Yeah, I have to
But yeah.
imagine there's like an impending doom where you're like, oh no, the save file is coming in. What am I about to see?
yeah, exactly. And I actually it's really exciting because every time we see a new save file, we all enter on the save file and we just check every single time to see if there's something that he hasn't uploaded to YouTube yet. And we sometimes find the stuff.
It seems like Taiga simultaneously cares and doesn't care about world records, and this shines most brightly when it comes to the title of PRB World Champion. As of this recording, he is the number 3 player in the world, behind MK Dasher and another Japanese player, Beta. You see, the way that the rankings are determined is based on what they call average finish. When a player has posted their best time on all of the 64 scores, their rank is then averaged out to an overall score. So if you have 1 in all of the 64 tracks, then your average finish would be 1. Or if you have 1 in half of them and then 2 in the other half, then your average finish would be 1.5, right? It's just simple math. But when I was talking to Max, he told me something fascinating.
He has very good times on all but one track, where we've compiled these times off of his save files, and he has incredible times on everything except for Moo Farm, where his times are ranked like outside the top 150, and so they are ridiculously bad because all of his other times are like top 5, and it's pulling his ranking down so much that if he just played Moo Farm and got like I think top 6, top 8 times, he would be the world champion right now. And so right now he's 3rd in our charts, and he's been sitting there for about like 4 months with these terrible times, and that's all he has to do. And so we're just like, come on, man, what's going on? Like, just play it and be the world champion already.
I did the math, and even if he came in 5th place on the single and 3 lap times for Moo Farm, he would become the PRB World Champion. So why hasn't he done it?
I'm not really sure. I guess he just doesn't really care that much about this average ranking, and he just focuses more on getting world records on tracks, which is understandable as well. But I'm not really sure. I cannot really tell.
I have no idea. I wonder if at this point he's just doing it because he thinks it's funny. Like, he's not thinking about like, oh, if I play this, I'll be number 1, or I don't think he's thinking about that. I don't think he cares necessarily about becoming world champ. Maybe he just wants world records, and that's all there is to it.
Undoubtedly, Taiga is one of the best to ever play Mario Kart DS, and nobody even knew who he was until late 2020. This is a monumental event for the community, but they also need to be very careful about how they handle this situation. After all, he's still a kid. I talked to Abel, who was also a young child when he got his first world record in the game back in 2007. He also became PRB champion in 2010.
I was very careful at the time to communicate to everybody that we should not be pressuring this child into anything. Let's just let him do his thing. Let's not pressure him for proof constantly, because when he did get an R4 cartridge, I would want his save files very often so I could archive them and just keep them. But I didn't want to I didn't want to bother him too much to the point where he is put off from playing the game. So there was this sort of delicate thing, because there is a difference between interacting with someone who's over the age of 18 and somebody who's still a child. You don't want to scare him off. Actually, funnily enough, a lot of people some people started comparing me to Taiga in the sense that because when I was 12, I had gotten my first world record, and well, this kid got 30 of them or more. Yeah, I do sort of fit in that category of young world record achievers for the game. So I know how Taiga might be feeling.
Abel has been around for a very long time, and once again, I encourage you to watch the documentary that he made. It's very good. It covers history of the game very well. The future is bright for Taiga, assuming he wants to continue down this path. He's an inevitable world champion. MK Dasher says he doesn't even want to compete with him for that title.
For example, if I want to be the best on Rainbow Road, or I want to be the best on another track, or beat that track, I will try to do it. But it won't be like Taiga versus me in general. It will be just on a certain track, because I just cannot keep with him in every single aspect of the game, because he's already better than me in so many aspects right now.
I very much look forward to seeing what Taiga will be doing in the next few years, assuming he wants to stick around and keep playing the game. If you liked this video, please feel free to check back in later. I'm hoping to make some more speedrunning videos about lots of different communities. And if your speedrunning community has an interesting story that deserves a video like this, please let me know. I'd also like to give a tremendous thank you to everyone who agreed to talk with me for this video. Their insight was very much necessary in order to make it happen. And I feel very fortunate to have been able to tell this story of Taiga's appearance. I thought it was so interesting. I did try to reach out to Taiga's family to see if we could have some kind of interview. Unfortunately, I never heard back, but that's perfectly fine. Thank you very much for watching, and before we go, I'm just going to leave you with some recommendations from the players about what to do if you want to start playing Mario Kart DS for yourself. So until next time, farewell.
Right. I would absolutely say just good general speedrun advice to play the game and enjoy the game and not worry too much about, learning some advanced tech or scoring a great time on one certain track. Just play a bunch of different stuff, watch people's videos, interact with the community, and do your best to improve, and you'll go far.
Just play it for fun at first, and if you want to learn, just try to improve slowly. Don't try to do the hardest stuff from the beginning, because I know there's a lot of people that they learned about Mini Turbo and they find videos on YouTube where people do Mini Turbos really fast, and they try to do that, but they forgot that the main important thing in a car game is that having good lines. Like, you don't have to go 3 meters wide to the right to do fast Mini Turbos. You are going to be slow if you do that. So it's like, if you want to improve, first play for fun, and then if you want to improve, just start slowly from 0 to, and then start learning the harder techniques. Because if you don't do that, it's going to be really hard to improve.